Hey there, you're listening to We're Just Talking About It. This is Season 3, Episode 4. We have a brand new guest for you this week. His name is Syed Sabir Ibrahimi. He goes by Sabir in these episodes. He's joining us from New York City where he lives, but he travels back and forth to Afghanistan every year where his family still lives. We start this episode with Sabir talking about what it was like growing up in Kabul. It was years of hardship for him and his family, and he shares some very graphic and compelling stories. Like the time they were having a birthday party in his backyard and rockets were going off and people were being shot at his neighbor's house. His perspective is unique and we hope you enjoy this episode.
So today we have Sabir with us, and you're in New York City, right?
I am in New York City, yes.
And how long have you been there?
I have been between New York City and New Jersey since 2009 now, but on and off. Like, I've been traveling to Afghanistan at least every year.
Okay. And
Yeah.
we'll just take a quick walk down your bio. So you're born in
Sure.
what part of Afghanistan?
So I was born and raised in Kabul.
Awesome. And that you went to school there until what point?
I went to school I finished my high school in Kabul, and also I enrolled with the American University of Afghanistan. I was there for 2 semesters, and then I got a scholarship and I came to New Jersey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Short story.
That's a good one.
So what time frame are we talking about, you growing up in Kabul?
So I grew up in Kabul. I'm in my 30s. So when I was very young, the Soviets were leaving, and then I remember a little bit about the so-called communist government or communist regime led by Dr. Najib.
Yeah.
So I remember a little bit of that when I was in after kindergarten, in grades 1 or 2, and then I vividly remember the Civil War of the 1992, right after the collapse of Dr. Najib's government.
Sure.
And then we had the Civil War and we had the Taliban. I was in Kabul for a few months of the Taliban regime. And then the economy collapsed. There was nothing going on in Kabul. We had to go to Pakistan to find work.
So that brought you to Pakistan. Wow.
That brought me to Pakistan as a refugee. Yeah, the entire family, we were there for 4 years or so until the horrific incidents of 9/11, and then the U.S. intervention in Afghanistan, and we returned back to Afghanistan in 2002.
Wow.
Did you go back to your same home in Kabul, or did you have to?
Yeah. So we come from a middle class family, and my dad has a house there, so we went back to Kabul where we stayed.
Wow.
Do you remember? I know you said vividly remember. Like, are there some stories that stick out to you of what it was like growing up during the Civil War?
Civil War was tough. Even before the Civil War, under Dr. Najib's government, we lived in Kabul and we were constantly labeled as communists, even though we had nothing to do with communism. And so we couldn't go to my parents' village, which was not very far from Kabul. They come from Maidan Wardak province. I'm sure, Jason, you know where it is. So we couldn't go to, we had some land there that people took from us just by the virtue of us living in Kabul. We were labeled as communists. And then obviously the anti-communist regime were constantly attacking Kabul with rockets. Even during the time of peace under Najib's government, there were issues with security. We would get rocketed, especially by Hikmatyar and others. One day I remember during Eid, So it's a day that it's a festival thing for a celebration, like equivalent of Christmas. There was a few rockets that had landed actually in my neighborhood and killed some of my neighbors, including some of my, fellow children that I played with. So this is under Najib. And then fast forward 1992, we had the Civil War, and the economy was really bad during the Civil War too. It's not that the Taliban caused the economic crisis and the whole thing. So economy was really bad. There are lots of stories, but one of the stories that kind of it comes to me like a nightmare sometimes was when I was at a birthday party of one of my cousins, and they lived next to a mountain, and from there we could see the fighting actually between these between these Islamist factions. And then all of a sudden, one of the buildings, it was a nice building that was owned by the Ministry of Agriculture or one of the ministries, and it got burned down, and it was burning for a day throughout the night. And for us as kids, we were watching that and we were enjoying it. Basically, we were like, "Oh my God, look at that!" The whole fire. We were looking at the fire, and then the war was going on, and there was a birthday party, my cousin's birthday party. So it was a really crazy scene. When I go back and think about it, I was like, what kind of scene was that? And in the meantime, one of my relatives also got shot right there at the party because bullets were going around. There's no accountability.
Sure.
So one of my relatives got shot, and then something normal. Some other people came and took them to the hospital, and she was fine. She came back, and then the party was on. I was like, what's going on?
Right, this trying to live your life in a war-torn area.
Yeah, so and actually some of those scenes are actually repeating today, where people are trying to have a normal life, but also you see suicide bombs here and there. You see Taliban are attacking. You see all these other unfortunate events unfolding.
Do those thoughts ever come racing back to you when you're just sitting in a coffee shop or a restaurant in New York City that just kind of pop in your head and go, how do you see these two different worlds where you live today and then what you remember as a child, and you just can't get your head around how people were living like this?
So unfortunately, these things will stay with you throughout your life, and in New York City, life also gets tough. A lot of people are trying to just make it, and when you sit at a Starbucks or somewhere where see there's peace, and you think about these things, they bother you throughout your life, but what they can give you is that to appreciate what you have right now.
Right.
And also be cognizant of those people who are actually in this kind of situation right now, and try and do something for it if you are in a position of doing something for them.
I'm curious if your childhood and your experiences had anything to do with what you wanted to end up going to school for, and how what career you wanted. Did that play a role?
So honestly, with my career, so I worked in development for a few years when I was in Kabul. So I did a lot of nonprofit, and right now also I'm doing nonprofit but it's more of a think tank than nonprofit world right now. But career-wise, I just I don't know. I didn't plan all of this. I didn't know that one day I'll be sitting in New York City and working for a New York university. I had never planned this. Or even when I was in Kabul, I didn't plan. I mean, I kind of did plan to work for all these nonprofit organizations. But when I was a kid, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just thinking about living and surviving, especially if you see bullets going around you. All you think is just survival, basically. You sometimes forget about planning ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Right, about your future. You're kind of having to think in the now, which is really interesting. I feel like once again, perspective and just grateful to live in this country where, you know, you teach your kids every day, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Think about your future. And to realize that in other countries, that's not always the case. It's just survive.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, people are going through poverty. People are going through all these issues. And like during the Civil War, a lot of people actually would eat just once a day. You know, so I remember eating just once a day, and then I'll be good for the rest of the day, because my family couldn't afford to buy as like a three-time meal.
Puts a lot of things in perspective. Yeah, especially imagine where you are now and you're seeing, you know, the plenty of America and a big city and what there is, but it gives you something to think about when you look back on your life.
Also, Jason, yes, it gives me something to think about, but at the same time, I do also see some level of poverty here in this big city. So it's not that like, like the city is like perfect, you know. There are so many like homeless people that I'm like, where are we? Like this can't even happen in Afghanistan.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen that in San Fran and around your area there. I've looked at Chicago and thought, wow, Kabul was actually doing better in the middle of the war than some of these cities appear to be.
I mean, because culturally also we don't actually live outside the streets.
Yeah.
Like we try to find a shelter. Like it's not part of the culture.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, I wanted to get into some of the topics you wanted to discuss, and like you said earlier, a lot of this stuff we talk about is somewhat taboo or controversial, and we try to break it down so that maybe it's not so much so. And so I know you wanted to talk about secularism and Islam, and one of the things you thought is, what kind of Afghanistan do you wish to see?
So with what kind of Afghanistan we all wish to see, like majority of Afghans, they're for peace, they're for democracy, they're like, even a study's been done. I work closely on Afghanistan where we come across all these studies that have been done on what Afghans want, and you know the Asia what's the name of that big American NGO that is doing a lot of service in Afghanistan? Now I'm blanking. But like a lot of think tanks that have carried out research in Afghanistan, it shows that a lot of Afghans, overwhelmingly, they want democracy. Overwhelmingly, Afghanistan want to progress. You know, I would personally, a lot of young Afghans, they would want to see a democratic Afghanistan. They would want to see find a way to live with each other in peace. You know, so whatever problem we have in Afghanistan is mostly political. It's mostly political. It's not. I don't think it's that much to do with. It's not in our nature to just keep fighting each other. So an Afghanistan that is tolerant, an Afghanistan that is tolerant of religious people and non-religious people, secular people. It is a taboo. It's the word secularism is like so. It's just like a dirty word that people are like so scared to use these days, especially when we have the Taliban who are saying that this government is a puppet. It's not Islamic enough. I mean, there's no. Sometimes you feel that there's no room for like talking about these topics, that what kind of government we want and what kind of Afghanistan we want. Hopefully, an Afghanistan that is tolerant of secularism, that is tolerant of democracy, that is also tolerant of people with religious beliefs. I mean, Afghanistan is right now an Islamic republic, and if we can live in such a republic where women rights, minority rights, freedom of speech, and all these things that are vital to a democratic society is upheld, I think that's the kind of society I would want to see for Afghanistan.
So, Sabir, why aren't we hearing about these studies you're referring to? Or are we? Are we able to find them online, TV, media?
I don't think that especially the American media, in the American media or the European media, you don't hear a lot about the progressive elements in Afghanistan. In November, I was in Kabul. Like, there are these pockets of progressivism that is trying to open up, that is trying to fight for an Afghanistan that is tolerant, and they don't get a lot of attention. And when they do get some attention, then they are labeled as infidels, as westernized, as people who have sold their souls to the U.S. or to the West, or infidels or whatnot. So I think that there is that gap in terms of reporting that the Taliban, they want Islamic society. I mean, it is already Islamic society, but the way that it's portrayed, that I don't think it's for portrayal of this whole society. Pockets of progressivism that is there, and in all major cities, and even in provinces. And progressive doesn't mean like totally abandoning your religion, but it means tolerance. It means equal rights for men and women, for minorities, and so on.
Yeah, I think that's really hard for most Americans. I was just teaching a class this morning, and I was asking the students what they knew about Afghanistan, what's going on, and it's almost fallen off the front page so far in America. They don't have any idea what's going on. And so you hardly even get any news. They're certainly not telling stories about the different changes in culture and art and human rights that are happening all over the country. They'll just give you one soundbite a day. Taliban blew up this something that was going on in Kabul. That's it. You have to dig deep. I mean, you see me on social media a lot. I follow a lot of different voices in Afghanistan, because you have to dig really deep to Afghan sources and Afghan journalists and free thinkers in Afghanistan to let them tell you what's going on. And most Americans just don't have that level of interest or understanding of Afghanistan. So it's difficult for people here to find out what's going on.
Yeah, you're right.
That is where we will wrap it up with Sabir for this week, but stay with us. We have much more with him. Next episode, we talk about separation between mosque and state, and if that's even possible. And if we could ask the Taliban one question, what would Sabir ask? As always, thanks for listening. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at We're Just Talking About It, and you can email us at wjtanc@gmail.com.